The session today is about strengthening the human resource ecosystem around the skilling opportunities. Yet it's very confusing that the journey of a trainer or the resource skill is very invisible here, right? Any skilled person that we know often has had a trainer with improvised ways in which when text tools had went down and also stayed in to really make sure that they push their limits here. This session is largely focused on identifying the HR resources that we're talking about, train them, support them, and also retain them so that we can really make them the groundbreaking truth of creating a skilled ecosystem that we have today. And in the changing systems, and also given the ground challenges that J&K faces, human infrastructure is going to be really foundational for all of us. I'm really honored that I have some of the best minds and practitioners who worked across sectors for the session today, from the policy design to digital learning, to delivery and also system reforms. I'll now move on to introduce the panel here for us today. I'll start with Mr. Ashutosh Sharma. He's currently the Executive Assistant at PAN IIT. PAN IIT is a skill development that runs vocational skilling across 15 plus states and also specializes in trainer enablement and also last mile skilling. Mr. Ashutosh currently supports strategy and program execution at PAN IIT, which also has a specific focus on impact delivery in the underserved regions. So, welcome Mr. Ashutosh to the session. The next panelist for today is Mr. Imran Ansari. He is currently the program manager at Quest Alliance. Quest Alliance is a non-profit building agile system, skilling ecosystem. Again, working with the government and the industry partnerships with a strong focus on digital learning. Mr. Ansari is a program manager with experience in designing digital and community-led skill programs, largely using data-driven insights for impact in the sector. So, welcome, Mr. Imran. The last panelist that joins our panel today is Mr. Kumar Manish. He's currently in the lead partnership at Tata Strife. He's a skilling and livelihoods expert. He's had extensive experience working across governments, non-profit sectors, and consulting. Mr. Kumar Manish, welcome to the session today as well. So largely around skilling for the human resource, I think we can break it down to the entire pipeline that we have, right? Because it starts from identifying the resource here. So I think my first question is to Mr. Ashutosh, right? You've worked across some of even the remote parts of India as well. I think what we're trying to understand is what are some of the strategies that PAN IIT has used, and how do you say that really identifying the skilled pool of trainers in some of the remote areas, right? And also if some of the innovative onboarding techniques that you've had across the time, something you think that the audience can really benefit from that. Maybe start with that.
So, yeah, so thank you so much. Am I audible to you guys?
Am I audible? Yeah, great. So, thank you so much for having me on this panel. If I may share my perspective, first I would like to call a couple of challenges that most of us are aware of, but what is largely the grassroots challenges when it comes to the lowest paid states. Largely, we have been indicating the paradigm out here, which is largely metro-driven or tier 1 tier 2 cities. The paradigm is entirely different when we call up to Jamtara in Jharkhand, which you probably must be watching the Netflix series. So how will we get a trainer there? And likewise, if I say J&K, we have to really call out this reality that this is the fundamental challenge, that the geography that we are talking about is generally or mentally not conducive to the trainer or the quality of the trainer that we are planning to attract. Number one. So, first thing first is that as a part of my experiential learning, I personally have come across a lot of, first of all, at an apex level, policy disconnect between what is required and its implementation. So when we talk about, we have identified skills, what we want to do is we are very clear, we have a vision document. But the moment we move to the tactical plan, the disconnect starts coming in. Why? Because sanction posts, challenges, hiring, through public service commission and so on. But ultimately, industry is not very comfortable with these challenges, which are largely procedural challenges. So first thing first is that this was a base challenge that we hit actually when we started working during our JVs with various state terms. Then the second challenge came to geography, which we told you. So it is very difficult for me to set up a A&M nursing college in, I would call it Palamu, which is an excellent district in Jharkhand. And yet infrastructure is one part of the challenge. You can come up with a world-class infrastructure. We have come up with one world-class infrastructure. We have lateral simulators from Norway, being installed over there, and our nursing colleges, A&M nursing colleges are mentor institutes to complete Jharkhand colleges as well. But what challenge comes is where to get the faculty. Because ultimately, for you to really drive down the skills to or impart skills is the major challenge, the next stage. So the fundamental thing which came from the talent pool perspective was what is the skill gap which is present in the talent pool itself. So you'll be surprised to know that during my personal, kind of baseline study of the trainers which were there in the nursing colleges and even in the medical colleges, they have never come across such kind of simulator in their life. So now here we were looking forward for something which need to be upside down, so what the paradigm and come up with something which is a very, very kind of an innovative solution. So then we deep dive into where, from a strategic perspective, where the talent pool lies in India, nursing or maybe from medical perspective. And then we identified that one of the best pool which apart from the technical talent can also bring in a lot of life skills talent was is Indian Army. We reached out straight away to the DG of AFMS and we requested, sir, this is the problem statement that we have. I'm sure you must be having a lot of retired doctors, colonels and other position holders. Can we have they joining us as director to run these institutes? So first thing was to really hire the epics leader. I will not call them trainers or faculty or the office bearers. This was a leadership approach that we come up with, and I'm very happy and very proud to share that all our institutes are led by Army colonels. For them, this was a mission. So what we did is that we aligned their life's mission and we gave them a further next level of mission in the far end of their life. Now, the moment we have this leader is when it became very easy for us to really attract the talent from the talent hub, whether it is metros or tier 1 and tier 2 cities. There is a second thing which, scientifically we boiled out is the compensation and benefit part of the facility part of it. Because when you are moving them, retention is an important thing. So we created a very comprehensive compensation strategy. Because being a social sector organization, we just cannot meet the parity when it comes to the base salary parity. So we went to the same pay commission model, as we call it as the Niti Aayog model. And that is the model for all other I would say the other echelons of our workforce is also what we follow the same model. So we offered them, sir, we'll give you not only the base salary, but we'll give you perks in terms of your stay, in terms of your travel, your upgradations, your trainings, your further skill enhancement and so on. And that is how we could really fetch an amazing talent pool from largely the few first POCs from Kerala. And because nursing largely, as they say, that runs in the blood of people in Kerala and so on. Now, what we then did from here was that now once you have got the first foot on ground and you have got the first pool, now how to really either develop this pool as a part of your career planning and then create a complete chain reaction to this. So their point came to that how to really develop them in terms of hierarchy. Another major challenge is, the bureaucratic, or I would call it that the public sector structure is career progression. So what we did from day one when they joined, we had a career ladder or a career progression plan of theirs ready with us. That in these many years from a subject matter, you will reach out to a unit head or maybe a dean of the college or maybe the director. So what is going to be your career progression? So that is what has motivated them, and we are actually following them very vigorously by virtue of their exposures, sending them to various hospitals, nationally, internationally, making them aware of the technology, not only the IIT classroom kind of a delivery, but how to really have AI-based delivery, how to have e-curriculum development, and so on. So the third major strategic, I would say, shift that we have achieved this success is by virtue of ensuring that career progression is there, and by combining everything is with a piece of, or I would say, the thread of trust that what you commit, you deliver as an agency. Because most of the time, just to attract talent, we promise them the moon. But when it comes from the ground, the delivery is very different. So the first part, which I'm very proud of my organization from a credibility perspective, is that what we have committed to, whether it is a technical manpower or otherwise the administrative response, we hire what we promise is what we deliver. Not to quote here, but I'm very proud to share that being a not-for-profit section organization, in COVID, we have paid complete salaries to everyone. Reason being that, the leaders that, or the board of governors or board of directors that we have, these are leaders from industries who really believe in the importance of human resource. And that DNA is what we are trying to build our strategy of, skilled manpower along with that. Now, this is from a very specific viewpoint of skilled manpower or the technical skilled manpower, which I spoke about. I'm very proud to share that even being a social sector organization, it is very difficult to attract talent for us otherwise also. For making a Ashutosh agree to work and leave his really cushy life of Gurgaon and come to Bastar and go to Dantewada to really explore that, or maybe the possibilities tomorrow in Gurez that what is going to come up. You really need to fine-tune your talent attraction strategy, say talent sourcing strategy, that you really find out people who are purpose-driven. And that demands very scientific assessment. So we do not have just like that over LinkedIn or Naukri. We never have like that. The fundamental is word-to-mouth reference, and that is followed by very concrete leadership assessments, whether it is Google or whether it is other OPQs, very, very renowned leadership assessments which are there, what we go through. It is followed by rigorous interviews by leaders, and before even hiring, we offer a person 3 days of an on-site visit free of cost. That go there, see that whether it aligns to your purpose or not. So, human resource mein, the another strategy that I would suggest out here is that please don't hire. Align their missions. Because hiring is like a more of a transactional, commoditized thought process. One need to really align them to the mission, the vision that Ravi sir has explained yesterday. And there are many of us, I guess half of the rooms who are sitting on here are all purpose-driven folks, all my friends are different organizations. So that is something which translates them into, the very, very key denominators that I have spoken about. I will just quickly summarize them. That number one is that do a regular skill gap analysis of the existing workforce. Because just putting them into doing some AI course or some, jazz value kind of course would, do much of, and won't bring much of value to the table for that last mile student in the class. You must do what skill gaps are there in the trainer. Because the train-the-trainer strategy is a much, spoken kind of strategy is more of a cliche nowadays. We sub-train the trainer strategy. But do a very scientific need assessment, which is a third-party assessment, I would call it as, and that too, we are paying more for assessments than hiring, a talent. Even my skilled workforce that we deploy as part of our entrepreneurship program, when we make them owners, say for example in RMG, which is ready-made garment manufacturing, NIFT Delhi, with their proprietary patented tool, come to do the assessment and they give us that yes, their proficiency of skill is on a scale of 1 to 10 is this much. And once it is only 8 and above is when we hire them. Why? Because then this certificate becomes our input to the industry. That the order that you will place with us and with these workers, they are on a proficiency scale, which is an independent proficiency, they are 8. So the next important thing is what I will call out here is that there should be mass level of independent assessments that need to be carried out even before we are looking for trainers, and even for students. Don't just make them do any course that you do construction or you do X, Y, Z. DUGKY, the data calls out that 50% of the placements have been done cross-vertical. They have been trained for an X-ray and they have been deployed as security guard. So we really need to do this assessment and baseline work that has been wonderfully been done by the department. So assessment is one, skill gap is the second one, talent attraction and retention, which is again a strategy in terms of compensation, in terms of their continuity, in terms of their career progression, promotions and so on. And last but not the least is the L&D strategy that need to be merged for these trainers. I'm taking this liberty, sir. I have come across and I have met most of the IITI trainers during this last 2 days of visit. I have a tendency to say hello to most of them. I guess this is one of the major areas that they have all pointed to us that, sir, we have done our MTechs from NIT, we have done our degrees and all those stuff, but how to teach as they say is the challenge that they are coming up with. We are confusing degrees with the the training aptitude or attitude. क्या पढ़ाना है, they might be knowing, but कैसे पढ़ाना is the art. So they need to be given this kind of very designed, let it not be some off the cuff kind of thing कि आप ये कर दीजिए. This complete thing has to be designed as a part of this vision document. That these are the areas where we would want them to be doing. And one thing that probably we all would appreciate in this room is that now the game is not of the technical degrees or skills, because in my organization, which is majority IITs, none of them have ever deployed what stream they have studied. So they all have been civil, mechanical, computer. They have never deployed that knowledge ever. So what it is important is that life skills, what is required, and major focus should be around those skills, financial literacy, and so on. So this human resource strategy should not be in isolation, but has to converge from sourcing to development to recruitment and so on. With this, I will just conclude my.
That's a very interesting perspective, Mr. Ghosh. I think it's also a change of hiring passion-driven individuals and to also not call them trainers but leaders, right? I think I'll just move to Mr. Imran right now. So we've covered almost the first part of it where you identify talent even in the most remote difficult situation. Now once you have them on board, how do you train them, how do you support them, right? Now you are somebody who's worked with a lot of community ecosystems, peer-to-peer training models. One thing I would like to understand from you is more about the benefit that you see in contextualized training models. And do you think there's still any training model that has actually worked wonders in a specific context where you think can be scaled up as
well? Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to appreciate this initiative by Skill Development Department of JNK, and thank you for having me here in this panel. So, before I go to your question, I would like to tell trainer or educators, it's not only a problem in Jammu and Kashmir. If we talk about skilling ecosystem, whether it is ITIs, VTIs, polytechnics, or engineering colleges, very limited, but mostly these kind of spaces. I think trainer development, educator development has been the issue across the country. So this, I think we need to acknowledge, and I would really appreciate the initiative of DSD GNK because they are the one who is proactively thinking to address this issue. And I would like to highlight, like I work in Quest Alliance, and Quest Alliance has joined hands with Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship for the sake of develop like how a holistic development for the trainer would look like. And hence we have collaborated with MSD, and under the guidance we have developed trainer development strategy paper. Basically, it's a framework and guideline for a holistic trainer development who is into the skilling ecosystem, right? And with that, just talking about your question, which you asked, like what are the areas, I think Mr. Asutosh has already touched upon some of these things. But the very first thing, we need to understand what is the competency level of the trainers, right? हमें वही नहीं पता कि competency level क्या है. They are just coming to the institute, going to the classes, delivering the training. We don't know that. So for that, we have a very interesting framework called TPEC framework. So basically, this is a combination of three things: technological, knowledge, content knowledge, and pedagogical knowledge. So this framework will help you understand like what is the competency level of the trainers who are actually going to the classrooms and training the students, right? So that's one. Once you have identified, like now you know the competency of your trainers, like at this level, these many. Obviously, like, you won't find people, the whole fraternity of the trainers or educators at the same level. So you'll have different groups. इतने लोगों को ये पता है, इतने लोगों को ये पता है, इतने लोगों को ये पता है. And then maybe you could think about like these are tried and tested models. Since we have partnership with 10 state government which runs like skill development and employment initiatives across the country, and we have tried these models. So then we could think about another model called 3C, trainer identity model. So 3C is basically like the first is stand for container, the second would be channel, and the third thing would be the creator. Before I explain this concept, I would like to go back to the, I think there are a lot of talk around revamping curriculum, setting up new infrastructure. See, the way I have some a reverse perspective around setting up new infrastructure and revamping curriculum. This will happen once in a decade, or maybe once in 20 years, 30 years. We've been using this system for the last 20, 30, 40 years. That's why we're talking about revamping the curriculum. But this won't, this will not continue happening in every 2 years, 5 years, because government has also a limitation. So, what we can think of like, incorporating these kind of models into our system, like 3C model. So 3C basically first, like now you have the idea, now you have the context, then you have the level of your educator who are teaching into the classroom. So first level would be the container. So how do you ensure that a trainer is well equipped with the relevant skills which need to be delivered in the classroom? And then the second stage comes, which is channel, because the trainer is a mediator of learning. Maybe we all are here in the room, but we may not be, we have brilliant ideas. But we may not be going to the ITIs, polytechnics and engineering colleges to teach about these concepts. So ultimately they are the backbone, trainers or educators are the backbone. And then it has to be like, we have to make sure that the learning is being translated through the trainers into the classroom, so they are very well confident, they are very well skilled. And then ultimately, again joining my points with the revamping of the curriculum, that this won't happen again and again in 5 years, 10 years, that may take 20 years or 10 years of time, because we are living in the ever fast changing world, especially with the entry of AI and all, right? So trainers should be treated also one of the creator. And considering your trainer the one like who needs to understand the industry demand, skilling ecosystem need, and then there has to be a creator also. Because curriculum is developed, now curriculum is there, like what else, what is the additional layer, what is the additional flavor can be added. So they can also be a champion of one of the creative agents, I would say, the creator of the content which is relevant to the training, right? So this is the second thing. And the third thing, in my perspective or what our organization believes, that the TOT, I think you were also talking about TOT, yesterday also I was listening a lot of talks around TOT, training of trainers, to train the trainers. But for me it is just an activity. TOT is just an activity. So we need to think a trainer educator in a CPD model, like what are the plans for the continuous professional development, project. So there has to be a path defined for the trainer in the system. Otherwise, just conducting or organizing multiple TOTs may not help. And for that, again, I would keep it brief. A core concept which is called PAMI. If you are really thinking about the career path or the educator journey, the trainer journey in the skilling ecosystem, then I think this concept can be very, very critical and important in the skilling ecosystem. So PANI basically stands for the purpose, agency, mastery, and identity. Right? The very first thing, whoever is coming into this profession, I think we are also talking about some way of it, but and just articulating in another way, is like how do we nurture intrinsic motivation among the trainer so that they have that purpose, that why I am into this profession, and then they go back to the agency. So they should not be dependent on the government letters or some forcible things like you need to undergo this training, you need to do this for the betterment of your skills and all that. So the trainer desire to be self-directed, and basically they will be able to visualize their professional career journey in the skilling ecosystem. And the third comes like mastery. Basically, it's a pursuit of excellence, like a combination of domain skills and pedagogical skills. So once they have that, then the final stage comes into the picture, identity. So these trainers can be the champion of skill training in the skilling ecosystem, and they could also fuel the aspiration, and give the sense of belonging in the peer trainers. So they are the one who are into the same space, and the peers should also relate with them. कि अच्छा ये भी मेरे जैसा है, sorry, ये भी मेरे जैसा है, ये भी हमारे जैसे हैं, and हमें ये करना चाहिए. This is possible. People like me or somebody like us who are sitting in the room, if they go to them बोलेंगे ये कर लो, ये कर लो, ये कर लो, तो they might say अच्छा ये लोग तो आते रहते हैं बोलते हैं, तो इनको क्या पता है कि ग्राउंड लेवल पे क्या challenges, right? But if you could identify the champions among the peer networks and who would be fueling the aspiration that see I am also a trainer or educator like you, and then this is possible whatever you are doing. So basically this is a broad and general concept that maybe we can think of contextualizing into the J&K scenario, but these are some of the things which can be tried out in the skilling spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Imran. That's such a great insight into different training models. I think not just doing your TOTs, but just CPD model inclusion is also something for us to take back. I'll come to Mr. Manish now. So you come with a vast experience of working with government, right? So what is a government-led challenge when it comes to just hiring, supporting and retaining talent? And how do you think, if at all, is private partnerships help in any of it?
So thank you. I think my co-panelists have made this session very easy because both of my co-panelists who already touched on everything that is there to speak of. So thank you so much. I'll try to keep it brief and short. Of course, having worked with the government for over 10 years and now I switched the sector, of course, I'm a Tata Style. Wherein my colleague yesterday was already actually briefed everyone what we do. We are into short-term skilling, then we are into enterprise and community enterprise and TOTs and everything. And Tata Style was established way back in 2014, actually under the aegis of Tata Sons, wherein our mandate was to take up the skilling initiatives within Tata Group and outside Tata Group. So, over the years, we have been able to establish partnerships with the state governments, of course at the central level as well, but we work very closely with NCET, NSTC, DGT, and so many agencies like that. A very interesting topic to start with. I mean, I'll say by starting that I still remember my teachers and professors who taught me in my colleges and schools. I'm sure you will also remember some of them. Because they were the ones who actually, gave you that freedom to dream. Right? I mean, they told you that this is what you can do, this is what can happen. If you have been a history student, this is what was First World War, Second World War, Third World War, this is what automobile really was about. You still remember those basic concepts. You started respecting that teacher because that teacher was the first person outside the home who gave you that freedom to dream and ask questions. So I think one of the very first thing that we have been missing in the entire ecosystem we were talking about is at the very first level at the top level you see that there are agencies, right? The ministries. So NSD of course came into being. Before that we had NSDA and NSDC of course came later. Then we had AGT, NCDT, and rebranded as NCDET now. So these are the institutional levels which are there who actually frame policies, right? Who actually come up with notifications or gazettes and they frame policies. Then we have institutions for whom these gazette and notifications have been drafted or formed. Then at the other end is the target audience or the beneficiary who we are trying to target through these institutions and initiatives. What we do is that we try to forget the people who have to drive these initiatives, and these are the trainers and the teachers and the faculties. Very sadly, they are the building blocks of any initiative that we talk about. And if you are into, as you say, in the business of scaling, I think there is a lot to be done for the trainers. Our training partners, a lot of them are in the rooms, will agree when I say that, the trainers, they always jump from one organization to others, if you see. Because the salary structure that is there. Now coming from not-for-profit status, I wouldn't be in the position of authority to say that we can actually go ahead and standardize the pay structure for them. But I think somewhere some initiatives have to come and think about that, because it's still not formally recognized. That sector is not formally recognized, and that is why that pay structure is blindly unstructured, that drives one trainers to jump from one training partner to another. That is one. Second, we have been talking about finances, the pay structure. Now, I think the dignity that is being attached to other professions, that is still missing from the training part of it. I don't think that anybody aspires to be a trainer. If you ask people, do you want to become a trainer? No. Because there isn't a set career path which my co-panelists already spoken about. So I'm not going to touch on that, but I think dignity is something that is missing from the career goals are missing. Third thing I would point out, since you asked about the government, of course there are structures, and because there is something called NSQ management and there is common cost norms. We are still stuck with 49 rupees, 35 rupees, 10 paisa, 42 rupees, which actually, and people who are into implementation will understand and maybe relate to us what I am trying to say. If you implement a government project, the cost is so strict, it is defined that you can't charge more than 49 rupees per hour for any course, right? It does not take care of the training part of it, the trainer part of it. How to pay salaries to quality trainers out of that training cost is a question not that we have to answer, but I think as a collective we all need to answer and think of. Because say trainer का salary निकलेगा कहाँ से? ट्रेनर का सैलरी वहां से निकलेगा जो कॉस्ट आप या रेवेन्यू आप जनरेट करेंगे प्रोजेक्ट से। और अगर हम इतना फिक्सेटेड हैं कि हम कोई भी एस्पिरेशन कोर्सेज की बात जरूर कर रहे हैं, बट एस्पिरेशन कॉस्टिंग की बात नहीं हो रही यहाँ पे, राइट? अगर आप किसी को 49 रुपए या 45 रुपए घंटा पे कर रहे हैं, तो उससे अगर मुझे ट्रेनिंग सेंटर भी चलाना है, उसका रेंट भी देना है, और मेरे ट्रेनर को टीओटी करने के लिए भी भेजना है, इसके पास सेक्टर्स के काउंसिल्स के पास, क्योंकि उसके रिकग्निशन के बिना वो ट्रेनर को आप एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे, चाहे वो मेरा इंडस्ट्री से। फॉर एग्जांपल, वी आर वेरी बिग इन टूरिज्म एंड हॉस्पिटैलिटी प्रैक्टिस। लेट मी टेल यू दैट वी हैव द कंफर्ट ऑफ रीचिंग आउट टू आवर because Tata Group is a huge conglomerate. So I'm not going to promote Tata Group here, but we are a huge conglomerate of 100 plus companies, right? So if we decide to do tourism and hospitality, for example, we established 3 centers of excellence across India in 3 different directions. One we have done in Assam, which acts as a gateway to Northeast, where we are training candidates from entire 7 Northeast states. Second, we have done in Virtual Center Bhubaneswar, which has been rechristened as Kaushal Bhavan. Third, we have done in Gujarat. Now we have the comfort of picking up, our leaders can pick up phone and speak to people in Taj, for example. IHCL Taj, which is one of the most known brands in India now. Now Taj is a brand. If we do tourism and hospitality, trust me when I say that our trainers, or we call them facilitators, the facilitators that we have, they come from the industry, right? We do not go in the market looking for a trainer. Let me tell you, we go to the industry and tell them that this is the training plan that you have to do. For example, if you are training somebody to be a chef, then we take somebody who is from the industry, who has worked in the kitchen, right? So he has worked in a 5-star kitchen or a 4-star kitchen. That particular person need not to have a certification from SSC, let me tell you very honestly, right? Because he has worked in the kitchen of Taj for 10 years, 15 years or 5 years, he has that understanding of कि कैसे खाना बनाना है, राइट? या कोई अगर फूड एंड बेवरेज स्टीवर्ड है हमारे पास, गेस्ट सर्विस एसोसिएट, उसको पता है मुझे गेस्ट को कैसे सर्व करना, क्योंकि उसने होटल डायरेक्टर 10 साल को किया है. Anyways, I agree that some standardization is necessary, but I think there is greater requirement that industry has to speak to government, and government has to actually go, walk an extra mile and go and speak to the industry, and then that, there has to be a handshake between the government, industry, and the stakeholders. If you want to make that profession aspirational, how do you make it? I mean, that is a question that you all have to answer, right? Are our trainers going for industry exposures and industry visit? I don't think so. We do not have time because we have to run our batches parallel, right? I mean, there is cycle that you have to do. हर 3 महीने 4 महीने बैच निकालना, मेरे ट्रेनर्स के पास फुर्सत नहीं है कि मैं उसको इंडस्ट्री एक्सपोजर विजिट के लिए भेजूं. हमारे ट्रेनर्स अपडेटेड कैसे रहेंगे? That is another question. I'm trying to answer as many as possible. Even though you have asked a question, is there has to be a definite way that the trainers get the chance to visit industry, get out of the training centers, that gives them a break, that also makes them aspirational, that also tells them about the recent trends, the tools and techniques that are there in the market. So having said that, I think there has to be a greater handshake between all the stakeholders. Government, of course, is there to make the technical rules and the gazettes and the notifications. You all have to be kind of conscious of and abide by the rules. But there has to be flexibility in terms of people who are coming from the industry with relevant experience. I mean, there is a great industry. Why in last 10 years we have moved towards the industry? Why we have gone bottoms up? Is because we realize that people that we have been training and the trainers that we have hired, industry has come back saying that people we are interviewing them, but we do not find them to be equipped with the required skills, right? So I think these are the things that we need to take care of when we talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish. Covered a lot of ground here. I would take a moment to see if anybody has a question from the audience. We're not taking audience questions in a while. If anybody has a question, please come and respond. Okay. I think we're talking about human resource training, not even touch the tech part of it. So I would want to close by saying on the tech part of it largely. So again, picking up a lot of what Mr. Manish said, and I'm sure that Tata will do a lot of analysis of data to see.
Can you mute yourself? I guess your microphone is on when I.
I think what I was trying to say is there's also a lot of data that has been collected and analyzed in the trainer scaling ecosystem today, right? Do you think that data can be used in some way as a tool for retention, right? How do we make this an aspirational profession collectively? How do we create more people who say, oh, I want to become a trainer, right? Can we maybe design incentive policies on it? Can we just create more utility? I know it's more of an emotion, but can data play a part in it? Have you used it before? I think this is just a common question for 3 of the panelists who can start with.
Nothing is coming here.
And then go on.
The definition
Yes, affirmative, quite possible. And in fact, that is, I guess, is a requirement. That's certainly when we create a JD or a JS for a trainer, I guess we should also explicitly talk about and call out the job enrichment prospects that this assignment is going to offer. So, job description is something which he has to do on a repetitive basis. What's in for him on an ongoing basis? So that is, I would call it as that job enrichment and job rotation. It's 2 things, 2 aspects that I would request, and this is what we have been deploying all across in order to really enrich the overall experience of faculties, trainers, and I'm using the word faculty out here because this is something which now has been implemented by various private universities as well as universities of repute across the globe. So that is something which should be designed, and there has to be a clear policy guidelines around that, whether it is through DU, GKY or maybe any other government scheme. But yes, individually we can do that. Also, here I would like to suggest probably kind of a trainer or the gray matter ecosystem where how we each other as different organization can leverage all of this common pool. So that is something which we really need to call out. And I was in the morning, there was news that Bihar government has decided that सारे हिस्ट्री शूटर का वो एक डेटाबेस बनाएंगे आज मॉर्निंग वाला after that incident which is gone. Why not similar kind of a repository like we have in nursing and all, wherein these trainers of review or trainers of specific domain are there available as a centralized pool and they can be loaned, they can be leased, if not hired, wherein larger organizations can get benefit out of that. We must think on that, and there should be some benefit or consideration that need to be attached by the government on that. Vishwakarma Kaushik Samman has really indicated a few towards the artisan pool in this regard. They call them some smart master artisan and then they train further. So this is something for each domain is what we can really think of. And plus, yes, whatever is the data available to us, I guess we need to really see it from a larger, I'll use the cliche word AI and the perspective that how we can really churn this data, mining of data that we call it, and then come out of meaningful interpretations for some guidelines or some lookout. But lastly, I definitely would like to call upon there's a very famous word that is quite often being used, the PPP model, public-private partnership. I guess there's a flip side of it is that we need to really recognize now as a not-for-profit public partnership. We really need to also differentiate between the attitude and the existence of the organizations as well. My panelists have called out on the where this money would come from. So certainly a for-profit PPP who has to really make out of that same budget would not like to pass on as much as a not-for-profit organization can pass on to his or her trainers. So this is something is a major lens differentiation to the larger bureaucratic bureaucracy of this country, what we call it most often, is that it is a mindset game also which need to be recognized while we are selecting or passing on the mandates and so on. So these are the 3 points from my side. Thank you so much.
We can move to Mr. Arround.
So I think data is obviously a very powerful thing and tool. Everything is data. First of all, we need to understand what is data. How do you understand data? Data is not only the numbers, everything we do is data. Right? Here we are having conversation, we are sharing a thought, ultimately that is going to translate into one of the data system. But to be more contextual, first of all, I would like to highlight there is a lack of continuous, comprehensive and ununiform data system, the skilling space. Because we ask for data or request for data in a very random manner. Right? We need this information. Okay, we send a mail. I'm talking about the human resource perspective, especially specifically mentioned about ITIs, VTIs, and polytechnics. So there you want, in fact, in my last 15, 16 years of career, I've never seen a data management system for the trainers or for the institute. However, we have to deal with certain parameters. We know that's into our knowledge, so knowledge is not a problem, but we are not able to translate into that one platform. So that on that basis we could decide like what is the next step. For example, like I would like to quote the example from the Secretary's speech. So what we have seen, there is a lot of data, and then it has come to our notice and attention that now this is the problem, we need to solve it. Right? So similarly, I think we need to have a strong data management system at every level, specifically for the trainer level, educator level, and institute level. For that, I would say baseline and endline must. I'm just taking a small example of training of trainers. Whether it is a 3 days training or 5 days training, I think we should start the training with baseline, like what all things we want to achieve through this training program, and then end with the endline form. So in the just 4-5 days of intervention and engagement, you come to see how much our thoughts or objectives have been made. So that's also a data, and this is one example. You could think building evidences through data management system across. So yeah, these are some of the immediate thoughts which are coming into my mind.
I might be the most, I might be the least data-centric guy on the planet today. I'm not a huge fan of data, to be honest. But yes, because AI ML is coming and a lot of technology interventions are required. Data is important, it is critical, there is no denying to it. In fact, data is so dear to a lot of people. In fact, most of the leadership teams that there's a saying in Hindi, जिसके पास data है, वो मेरा बेटा है. In the sense, you are so dear to me if you have data. So we can't do away with data, right? जिसके पास data है, वो मेरा बेटा है, you're very dear to me. However, I think the changes will come if the organizations in the industry start owning their trainers and their manpower. Right? I mean, industry has to see a value in, having skilled manpower, rather than saying, seeing skilling initiatives as project to project or project basis. If that thought has to stop, then only changes will come. Because we have to be closer to the ground reality. I mean, what the ground reality is, if a sharing partner today or a not-for-profit sector or any organization is implementing a project today, they first of all see the visibility of funds and the tenure of that project. Right? In the sense, how long this duration is to be, if it's a 2-year project, 3-year project, or a 4-year project, first of all, and what is the funds that are coming through these projects, right? And then they'll kind of map the resources which are linked to these kind of questions. So if, and it is not wrong also, because not-for-profit sectors, because as I mentioned, it's an unstructured, not high-paying jobs that we're looking at. I mean, they will hire manpower which actually aligns with the objectives of the project, right? Not with the organization's vision, but with the project's requirement. So if you are actually working from project to project, how do you see that you'll have a manpower or you have a trainer who is going to be sticking with you for a very, very long time? I don't see that happening, right? So as far as industry does not own it, they do not drive it like they do. For example, in Tata Steel, we have a very, very interesting initiative that we have launched. I'll just take a moment to share. It might be helpful. In the sense, we call it cornerstones of organization, wherein we say, you have to be respectful, you have to have joy in your thing that you do. There has to be an element of innovation that has to be built into it, right? You have to be respectful, you have to be mindful, you have to have that, you have to drive culture. There has to be any organization that you see which has 10 years, 40 years, 100 years, 130 years of history. They have reached so far because they have managed to build that organizational culture, right? So, that organizational culture that has to be there if you have to have value in a manpower. If you don't skill, if you don't value your own trainers, whom you leave your entire classroom, at one point of time, if there's a batch of 30 students, you leave your entire classroom on that single trainer, drive that pedagogy, right? You don't trust that trainer, you don't kind of keep them upskilling. If you don't let them go to industry to visit with recent trends, if you don't, as you rightly mentioned, you don't enrich their mind, you keep them confined to classrooms only, things not going to change. If you don't see value, if the industry is not willing to take the ownership of their people and the trainers and say that if I skill my own trainer, I think we are on the right track. If you don't let them interact with peers, if you don't let them go to a factory or industry or brands, then they can see the practitioners. If you don't build that platforms, things are very, very difficult to change because from last 10, 20 years, we have seen that trainers are still that God which everybody is following. So these kind of changes are required. It has to be centric. People have to be at the center of any intervention that we're planning, and it's high time that we start valuing our trainers. I think these are the things that we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manish. I think something that comes very core to the discussion is again purpose-driven people being at the core of it, owning your trainer force, right? I think that's the real core towards scaling this. I know a lot of sessions have revolved around scale your infrastructure, your content. We also realize that scaling your human resource capacity and capability is also equally important to it. Thank you, Mr. Ashutosh. Thank you, Mr. Arman, and thank you, Manish, for a very fruitful discussion. We will now wait for the lunch to reconvene at 3 p.m.
Thank you.